You might want to make the slides full screen, no?
Let's see. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it's
Bottom right, bottom right.
Okay. Okay, wait. I'll see how many people are in before we start. Just give me 2 secs. Can't see.
Wait,
Okay,
so it's me intro, then I talk for 3 minutes, then the next person, yeah?
No.
No. Oh, okay, sorry. Great. Okay, then you just said everyone intro, then I talk.
Then talk, yeah. So I'm just gonna wait a couple more minutes. So we're gonna start at 4:05. So we'll just wait for everyone to join, and then I'll start the presentation. Okay.
Sorry to ask again, just so we're clear, everyone, quick introduction, and then after the introduction, speak for 3 minutes? Like after everyone's introduced themselves, then we speak again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of introducing ourselves, we just say our names.
Your name, yeah, just say your name, or yeah, just say your name.
Okay.
Should we say where we work, or like if we're a student as well?
Yeah,
Maybe.
you could do that.
Okay.
It's up to you guys. It's up to you. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, part 3 of What I Wish I Had Known series, where we spotlight advice from alumni of the 10,000 Black Interns program. My name is Lois, and I'm delighted to be hosting today's session, designed especially for our 24-25 interns. Whether you're preparing for your very first day or planning ahead for long-term career goals, this session will help you feel confident, informed, and inspired. Today's conversation will focus on navigating your internship experience with intention and impact. You'll hear real insights and practical advice on the power of pivoting, building your personal brand and being visible at work, effective networking and communication, and overcoming imposter syndrome, as well as converting your internship into a full-time role. So let's get started by meeting our incredible panel of alumni.
Hi everyone, my name is Jala and I currently work at Severn Trent as an event officer.
Hi everyone, my name is Opiemi Lawal and I currently work at the Serious Fraud Office.
Hi everyone, I'm Jade McFarlane and I am currently a consultant at FTI Consulting.
Hi everyone, my name is Michelle and I've currently just finished my final year of uni studying politics and international relations.
Hi everyone, my name is Bakar, and I've also just finished my degree in business management.
So Jala will be starting it off.
So just a bit of background on me. So I initially grew up in Kenya, so lived there for pretty much my whole life, came to the UK for uni in 2020, which obviously was not great because we're in the middle of a pandemic. But my dad did not believe in me taking a gap year, so I had no choice but to come. So that's fine either way. So I studied at work and I did a 4-year degree in law and business studies, which is a bit not weird, but I guess it's different from what I'm doing now, having studied law and now I work in an events role. But I feel like it all just kind of worked out the way it was supposed to. So I took part in 10K last year, so last cycle. And that's how I got my placement now. So I was initially placed in the team that I am in now currently, did my internship, did 8 weeks with them. It was really, really good. Honestly, like the nicest people ever. I hadn't had any type of like corporate in an office type of work experience. Like I worked throughout uni, but I worked like on campus. I worked in a nursery with kids. I've like worked in a warehouse. Like I've done all of these other types of things, but I didn't have that proper office experience. I was really anxious, but honestly, it went really well. So did that, had my 8 weeks. And then after that, the team that I was in just didn't have capacity to take on a new person. So I was like, but I need to stay. I need to stay. I need to figure out where to stay. I really like this company. I really like the team. And there was small whispers that something could be like coming up in the horizon. So I actually did a maternity cover in a different team. So in the internal communications team at the company that I'm at now. And in all honesty, I didn't fully understand what I was signing myself up for. I feel like a lot of the careers that I think just people on the panel, like even my job now, I knew what events was, people know what law is, you know what consulting is, you know what banking is, like to a rough degree. Internal communications just wasn't something that was deeply on my radar. But I did it, it worked out really well. And it just so happened that when I was finishing that maternity cover, a role opened up in my old team as an events officer and I was able to move back. But I feel like if there's one thing for me, having gone from like studying law, doing an events internship, working in internal comms for maternity cover, and then coming back to events is just like the power of pivoting and like you never really know where you're gonna end up. So just kind of keeping open-minded, even though I'm like a very structured person. Like my plan was very clear, like this uni, this, that, but that's not how it's worked out, but like everything's been okay. So yeah. I'm not sure who was after me.
I think Opeyemi is next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, just a bit of background with me. So I did my undergraduate in law at the De Montfort University in 20, and I graduated in 2020. And straight after that, I did the LPC at BP University. So as you know, 2020 was COVID. So instead of my LPC being in face-to-face on campus, it was all online and very much independent. And during that time, I knew that I wanted to qualify as a solicitor, but I didn't take the necessary steps to do so, which is obviously to apply for training contracts at that time. So instead, once I finished the LPC, I went on to like my first 9 to 5 role at the Nursing and Midwifery Council. And that was just working in a regulatory environment. So I was still like exposed to like the legal world. So then I came across 10KBI last year and I was just like, okay, let me start to get the ball rolling and actually experience what life in a like commercial law firm would be like. So I was fortunate enough to get my first placement at Slaughter May, which like everyone that's in law would know what Slaughter May is, what they're like, and who they are in the industry. So I was quite excited, like, for my first experience to be at a firm like that. And it was also my first experience of like commercial law, what commercial lawyers do, what trainees would do. And I was situated in the disputes and investigations team. So I hadn't also been exposed to that area of law as well. So I made the most out of it. I spoke to lawyers in different practice areas as well. One thing for me, I didn't know what employment law was like in a big firm like that, because for me, normally, like, employment law is like someone from off the street, like, asking for help in terms of like their employment or just like businesses. So I wasn't really like clued up on how a Magic Circle law firm could help an average person. So that was a really good experience in understanding that. And there was also like paralegals there as well that were future trainees in other firms. So I networked with them and asked them, how did you get your training contract? What was your process like? Was this your first cycle? And some of them also I still speak to now. And one in particular really helped me this cycle in terms of like training contract applications. And in terms of like expanding my engagement with lawyers within the firm, I spoke to someone in competition because, again, I was intrigued in like what competition was like. And she has become my mentor and we still speak till today. And she has also been quite pivotal in my career journey, like moving forward from Sauter May. So after Sauter May, it kind of solidified my interest in like becoming a commercial lawyer. So I went on to apply for like 5 like training contracts and also apply for 10KBI again. And I was fortunate enough to get a placement through 10KBI at CMS. So I'm looking forward to that this summer. And every single interview that I have had from when I finished at Sauter May, they have asked, oh, what was your experience like? What did you do there? And not only did I get stuck into the work, I also joined the netball team. I also did some content with them as well. So I think it's very important not just to get stuck into the work, but do things that are beyond the work, so you can actually make a mark and know that you actually took the most out of the 6 weeks or 8 weeks that you're there for. So yeah, that's a bit about me. Oh yeah, sorry. I work at the Serious Fraud Office now, which is like dealing with like investigations, like bribery, corruption, and yeah, just dealing with like large amounts of like evidence and like big corporations, and also liaising with law firms as well. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Opiemi. I think I'm I'm next. So I did the 10K Black Interns or 10K Interns Foundation in its first year in 2021. And I don't know if you guys know the history, but I'm not going to bore you with all of it. Just know that it focused on asset management and investment management in its first year. And then after that, it changed into lots of different sectors. And so when I applied, for context, I did history for my undergraduate at Warwick, and I also did a year abroad in France, but it was all social sciences based. There was no finance or economics background with me. But in my first year of university, which was in 2020, I had no idea what I wanted to go into in the future, and I was desperate to get an internship and just get some experience under my belt, because I thought that was important, and going forward it would help me out it would help me out a lot if I had an internship. So I applied to when it was 100 Black interns, and I got placed. Well, I interviewed and was successful in working at Big Issue Invest, which, for those of you that don't know, the Big Issue is a charity where homeless people will sell the magazines to people on the streets, and with the funds that they raise, they can keep. I don't think it's all of it, but they can keep the profits, and it's a way for them to slowly work their way back into like having a career or having a job, because it presents as a halfway house. And within the Big Issue, there's an investment branch which invests only in like social enterprises or charities. And I really enjoyed that opportunity because, as I said, I didn't really come from a financial background, but I loved being able to merge analysing the numbers and analysing the finances with making a difference in different charities and enterprises, which were like, that was a big interest of mine, and I still liked the really analytical and numerical elements of it. So yeah, I did that in 2021, and I met loads of people and networked and made some really great connections during that internship. Like Opiemi mentioned, talking to people from different departments and getting to know various like levels of seniority. And after that, I've leaned on them a lot since, it was 4 years ago now. And in my applications for other internships or graduate applications, a lot of them helped me out with interview prep and interview testing. So it was a great opportunity, and I'm in a completely different industry now, but I don't think I'd be where I am at the moment if I hadn't done that internship, because of all the people that I met and all the support that they gave me. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name's Michelle and I'm currently in my final year of uni. I've just finished, and I feel like in order for you to really understand my career journey, I have to take you back all the way to A levels. So I did politics, history, and English literature, and I was actually the year that I didn't actually do my GCSEs, so A levels were my first exam. So I had a lot of anxiety just around exams, being in the hall. I don't know what it was. I was literally petrified of actually sitting in a hall. I was like, I can't do it. I was telling my teachers, I was like, I can't do it. They're like, yes, you can. I was like, no, I can't. So yeah, so I actually thought I was going to go to Warwick. I was very much like set in stone. I was like, Warwick is where I'm going, to the point where I went to go visit. I went to go look at the accommodation. I was looking at the LED lights. I was getting very much in tune with the city. I was like, Cov is going to be my city. Like I was set in stone. And now the results day comes along. I open up my results when I see BBC. Mind you, I was an A student, so this was a shock for me and for everyone around me. And I don't know about you guys, but I tied my worth to academic validation. So for me, this was really, really distraught. Quite literally to the point where I said to my mum, I looked over and I said to her, my life's over. Like I'm done. Like, and especially because I think that narrative came from being in my English literature class and my teacher basically having a lot of stigma around non-Russell group unis. So like God really humbled me, because the uni that I was saying, if you go there, you're on serious. I ended up going. So I ended up going to Nottingham Trent University. But honestly, I will say this to say that it was the best thing that ever happened to me ever, because I believe I stopped being complacent, and it really allowed me to reframe and really understand where worth comes from. And it's nothing to do with where you go or what grade you get per se. So I get to, whilst I was processing the fact that, I'm no longer going to go to Warwick, mind you, I still meet people from Warwick because there are lovely people in the school that went to Warwick. So it turned out okay. I still kind of went in a way. I started to reach out to everyone that was on LinkedIn that was Black and was doing well. It was really important for me that they were Black because I wanted that representation. So I reached out to someone and I came across someone called like Kobar. I still speak to him to this day. And he basically took me under his wing and he told me about something called internships and spring weeks. And I was like, what is this? And then he told me about something called 10,000 like interns. So then I actually ended up applying. And I remember just even doing the application, like the first time I made a CV, he was like, it's literally SHIT. He was like, it's horrible. And I was like, oh. But the constructive feedback was really important because it really was bad. But then anyways, fast forward, we worked on it together. And then I ended up landing an internship at Ofcom. So that's why I ended up getting through to 10,000 interns. I did that over the summer in my first year. So that was very much a comeback from being able to not getting what I wanted to get in A levels from the BBC to then the first year getting an internship alongside then getting a spring week as well in my first year of uni. So I really did academic come back there. And then in my first year, I did other work experience as well. I'm not going to bore you, but I did quite a bit. And then I got to second year, and then I did a internship in reinsurance broking. That was a really, really lovely opportunity for me as well. Again, I was basically the only person from a non-target university, but I believe that it showed me that I can still be in these rooms. So if you are here and you are from a non-target, like you are okay. You can still do really well. Just making sure that you have those mentors to really help you. And I feel like removing that notion that I'm not going to be noticed because I come from a non-target, I think was really important. So I really just said that I'm on an equal level, and that really helped. So I finished that off last summer. And then, yeah, I got a offer to come back there in September. So and then now that takes me here now. I've now currently finished uni and I've learned a lot. So if you guys have any questions about how my experience is as a non-target, then I'll be more than happy to take questions. And may I add as well, I am the product of mentoring. So I had a lot of help along the way, mentors that would look at my applications, that would encourage me, that would speak life into me, etc. And if there's one thing I would say, that I feel like the reason why I was able to have that comeback was because of resilience and believing in myself that, you know what, I could do it. I told my mom, I said to her, listen, I'm going to get 2 internships and I'm going to get a graduate job in my 2nd year. And I went to go and do that. And it's not because I'm so much more amazing than everyone else, but I believe it's just because of the fact that I had a goal and I was resilient to keep going until I reached that goal. So I encourage you here that if there's any of you that feels like you're not where you're at or you want to be, don't worry, you can keep, as long as you keep going, as long as you believe in yourself, anything's possible, which is why I like to say the world is yours and go and take it. So go and take it. Thank you.
Hi guys, my name is Bakar. Like Michelle, I'm also in my final year of university, graduating in, well, hopefully graduating in business management from the University of Westminster. A little bit about me. So I was born in Lisbon. I'm originally from Guinea-Bissau, moved to the UK in my early teens. And I also did not originally come from the background which I've sort of ended up in. During my A-levels, I was doing engineering, I did graphic design, and I did sociology. And then when I came into university, I decided I wanted a career in finance. And it was quite a daunting prospect at the time because I'm the first person in my family, my entire family, to go to school, number one, and finish school, and then also get to university. So there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of riding on that. And obviously with that came a lot of imposter syndrome. And, you know, when I first came to university, I made a lot of friends who were also in the sort of financial services journey, but a lot of them went to target schools and I never quite thought I belonged. I came across, you know, a lot of these charities that were helping, which was at the time 100 Interns and also the BYP network, the Bright network. But I never thought to apply because I thought, you know, what's the point? Which kind of brings me to my quote, actually, which you see on the screen, which is, you know, if you don't try, you don't win. Somebody used to tell me that I used to be a chef, and there was a guy that I used to work with. He used to say this all the time. You never know if you're going to get something until you try, because at the end of the day, the worst answer you can get is no. And lo and behold, the first time I applied for 10,000 interns, I bagged myself an internship at Credit Suisse. Obviously, this was when it still existed at the time because it's now bankrupt. And after that, the year after, I applied again and I got another internship at another Swiss asset manager called Vontobel. And I think that was the most sort of pivotal moment in my sort of career to date, as number one, it was quite a small office. There were only 15 people based in London. However, because of that, I had so much exposure to a lot of high level people in the firm. So I sat in the same office as the chairman, various global heads of department. And, you know, during that 6-week internship, I really leveraged that and, you know, focused on projects that meant I had to work cross departments, but also made myself really loud in the sense of like you know, whatever work I did, I always made sure that everybody knew about it. And I really made sure to network with every single person that passed through the office, as we got a lot of visitors coming from other offices around the world. And this came handy because the year after I took a break from studying because I kind of became a DJ, but that's a different story. And during that time, I wasn't really working, but I kept in touch with the firm. I kept in touch with my manager, who's now still today my mentor, and I bagged myself an off cycle for half of the year, where I was recruited to work on sort of more specific projects, helping the sales team sort of expand their foothold in London, because the company was trying to grow its business in the UK. And that was sort of my most I think productive, let's say, experience so far, because I really got into the nitty-gritty, and I wasn't made to feel like an intern at all. I was very much part of the fabric of the firm. I was very much part of the day-to-day. And I was in a very peculiar position because, number one, I was the very first intern they ever recruited, which was obviously through 10,000 interns. Also, I was the only person from an ethnic minority, as far as I can tell. Everybody was white, 40 plus, and most of them were men as well. So, when I got in, I was very much outside of my comfort zone. But at the end of the day, I recognized that I was there for a reason. My CV was picked for a reason. And even if I didn't feel like I was good enough, clearly they saw something, and all I had to do was deliver. And essentially that's what I did. So I think my advice is, if you're picked, it means you're good enough. Don't tell yourself you're not.
Thank you so much for your lovely words, guys. And your insightful responses. So we're now going to move to the panel discussion, where I'll be asking some reflective questions to help our interns better prepare for the months ahead. So what's one thing you wish you had done differently to make a stronger first impression?
I don't mind going first. Yeah, so in my internship, it was, well, I think it still is now, depending on where you intern, a hybrid world. And sometimes it's a bit awkward to introduce yourself to people, because they gradually come into the office and they might not all be there when you first arrive. But I think one thing I regret in my first internship, and I've taken forwards like into like the next internships and at my current job, is just introduce yourself to people as soon as you meet them, as soon as you see them. Say, hi, I'm Jade, or hi, I'm whoever. I'm currently interning at blah, blah, blah. This is my first day. It's lovely to meet you. I'd love to catch up if you have some time this week or in the next couple of weeks. I think it's really valuable in putting a face to the name. They might have had emails going around about an intern joining the team, or they might just know, or they might have no idea who you are. So I think it's just really useful to say that, and then it makes everything a lot less tense in the office. Whereas if you say it on email, sometimes I've teamed someone or sent someone an email saying, oh, it would be lovely if we could catch up, and then we're like trying to find each other in the office or in the canteen or the kitchen, and we have no idea who each other is. So it's just easier if you go up to someone and you can shake their hand, or you don't have to shake their hand, just smile at them, put a face to the name.
Oh, that's amazing advice, Jade. Anyone else?
I can go. One thing I wish I would have done differently. I think I wish I would have found out what type of software I would be using before I started internship. Because in my internship we used a lot of Excel in one specific internship that I did. This is just a general, not specifically the one I did 10K, but and I think it's important because then you can brush up on any skills that you might not have. because the reality is you're there for 2 months, and let's say you didn't know Excel, like for me, because I had no reason to know Excel. So when I saw the Excel spreadsheet, I was like, what is this? It literally felt like a different type of language. And I believe in a way it did kind of ruin my confidence in a sense, because I was just like, oh, I don't really know how to do this. So I would have to be asking a lot of questions. And yes, they say ask questions is good, but I feel like when you are trying to make that impression, just even for yourself, having that level of confidence and you know that, you know what, I can do this, I think it allows you to actually understand the work and you're actually able to get into the work rather than them having to teach you some Excel spreadsheet techniques as well. So I wish I would have maybe even asked like interns or previous ones that I know that have done the specific internships, what do you use, so that I'll be able to brush up on it beforehand. I'm not saying that go and like, you know, spend so many hours on it, but just having the basics there, I think is really, really valuable. So that as well, I think it will make you seem like, you know, you're competent, you're really able to do like these interesting, cool tricks as well. And it just gives you other time just to ask those more like engaging questions. And I think overall it improves your confidence. And having confidence, I think, will get you really far in an internship. Having it involve yourself as well, because the industry that I was in was broking reinsurance and it was very male dominated. So already I was already feeling like, oh my gosh, like I'm not meant to be here. And then being a female and being black on top of that, I was just like, oh gosh. So then that Excel, not knowing the Excel really did knock my confidence down a little bit. But luckily I had a good positive self-talk. So I was able to like, you know, be like, no, Michelle, you can do this. But if you don't, then I think it's really important that, you know, you have those skills that you brush up on before you come, so that it's not the thing that you're feeling insecure about, because you're going to feel insecure. That's the nature of it, because you're going to be like, I don't belong here, but you do. So don't give yourself more reasons to feel bad. So that's one thing I'll definitely say you should try and do if you can.
I can go next. I think I'll just echo what Jade mentioned earlier, but in the sense of not assuming that everyone is too busy for like an interaction. So during my internship, we was in our own like office. It wasn't necessarily an open plan office. So my office was like opposite another senior associate's office, but his door would always be open. So every morning I would see him when I'm entering my own office, and we look at each other and smile. And I'm just thinking like, okay, maybe he's like busy because he's always there. Like before I come into the office, he's there, and when I'm leaving, he's still there. So I'm not going to introduce myself. I'm not going to disturb him. Then halfway through my internship, he was getting some coffee. Then I just said to myself, like, okay, just talk to him, just talk to him, talk to him. So I was just like, hi, like I always see you in your office. And I've never like introduced myself to you. Like, my name's Opiemi. I'm one of the legal interns here, and I'm here for 6 weeks. I was like, yeah, like I do see you a lot, and you always smile. But I just didn't know like who you were. But like, thank you for introducing yourself to me. And like, are you enjoying yourself? And I was just like, yeah, I'm enjoying myself. So I was like, what have you got going on now? And I said to him, oh, I've spoken to this person, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. He was just like, oh, if you're free, then I can give you some work if you want to. And I was just like, oh, okay, yeah. And then like 20 minutes later, he sent me an email. I did some work with his trainee. And the next morning, he was like, he was there again in his office, and I was about to open the door. I said hi to him. He was like, oh, I've got a client meeting starting at 10 o'clock. Do you want to sit in? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. So never assume people are too busy for you. And like, not everybody knows that there's an intern there. And like a hi goes a long way. And there can be some instances where like you're actually not doing anything. And because you've said hi or you've introduced yourself to someone, they might also fill in that gap as well. Or if you speak to someone and say like, okay, like I'm interested in this area of law, they'll be like, oh yeah, speak to so and so, because that's all they do, that's their bread and butter. And then you can then go and speak to the other person, introduce yourself, and then yeah, that's my thing. Don't assume people are too busy for you.
Love that.
And also, just to echo what Jade and Opeyemi said, it's really important to show that you're keen and interested. If you think about it like any sort of relationship with any human being, whether it's a friendship or let's say, for example, you're courting someone, you're going to want to show intention. You're going to do things to let those people know that like, I'm interested and I want this, whether it's a job or friendship or whatever situation that may be. So don't be too scared to speak up. Don't be scared to say hello. Don't be scared to invite people for a coffee chat or even just to have lunch together and all these things, because that's what really shows you're interested in not just the job, but you know, the people around you and the people you work with. Because at the end of the day, in a lot of these corporate jobs, especially if you want to work in finance, you are going to spend a lot of hours in the office with a lot of these people. And, you know, a big part of hiring decisions nowadays is this going to be a pleasant person to sit next to for 45 hours a week plus. So it's really important to not necessarily force it, but just let your personality shine, and but also be really intentional with, you know, being around your colleagues and being friendly. And, you know, try not to be, I know it's difficult. I'm an introvert myself, but try and put yourself out there because it will do your career wonders.
Thank you guys so much for answering that question. The next question is, how did you stay engaged and present in a workplace that might have felt unfamiliar?
I think I can go first with that. So sorry, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. How did you stay engaged and present in a workplace that may have felt unfamiliar?
Yeah, so prior to going into Slaughter May, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is my first experience going here. So the way I kind of mentally prepared myself is by understanding like, okay, what the team does and who like I want to speak to within that team. And then the way I stayed engaged and kind of for how do I put this? For my own benefit, but also for the benefit of the firm, I asked the person that was like managing the internship, like, can I like make like TikTok videos, for like day in a life, like vlogs, just for like my own benefit and also the benefit of people that don't really know what a commercial law firm is and like what happens like within a commercial law firm. And obviously it will help with their own marketing because like Michelle said at the beginning, representation is quite a big thing, especially for people that are coming into the industry, like any type of industry, if you want to say that. So yeah, that was one of the ways that I stayed engaged, and that helped me kind of speak to people that are within my team because I kind of knew what we did. I knew who I wanted to speak to in terms of like certain areas that they are that I'm interested in, so that proactivity allowed me to kind of stay engaged because I wanted to learn more about what individuals do. And yeah, I think I think that's my own 2 pence to it.
Absolutely amazing. Anyone else?
Yeah, I can go next. I think something that was easier for me is like at my company, there was a big cohort of us. Like I think it was like 30 of us. So it made it a lot easier because there's many people in the same boat and there were some people who had started earlier than us. But I know that's not the case for everyone. Like some firms will only take like one person or two people, or it's just you by yourself. So I would say like using LinkedIn as a resource and just reaching out to people because there's someone who's been in that position before. Like there's someone who's been a summer intern or a spring intern or done an open day or something, whatever it is, and just kind of ask them for like tips and tricks, how they found their first day. I know it's easier said than done. I know everyone has their own mixed feelings about like LinkedIn and everything and reaching out to people. But I think just hearing from someone else who's been there before or like in the same position as you or recently in the same position as you just helps ease some of those worries because you're actually like hearing from someone. So like even if in your head you're like, oh, there's no one like me there, but you can sort of like check yourself and be like, no, I spoke to this person, or I know they have X amount of interns like me, or etc., that type of stuff, just to help sort of like when you have those negative thoughts, you have evidence to like kind of push them down and be like, no, that's not true. I'm here for a reason. I've spoken to this person. They've said this, they've said that. So yeah, that's probably, yeah.
Thank you so much for answering that question. The next question is about what role did your mentor play in helping you adjust, and how do you build that mentor-mentee relationship so it could nurture after the internship?
I can go. I think my mentor was really pivotal in terms of helping me adjust. I think being transparent and open in terms of like my goals, I think was one of the best things I did. At the time, I was very much interested in wanting to be like a lawyer, etc. And I told her that. And me being upfront with that enabled her to come up with an action plan together to see how can I maximize those 2 months that I was there. So I guess the best way to get the most out of any type of mentorship relationship is to really be clear on your own vision. You need to be clear on where exactly are you going, because your clarity will then enable that mentee, the mentor, sorry, to then actually be able to help you the best way possible. So I'll first start off by saying clarity, get very clear on the goal and the vision, etc. And then also asking them like, okay, like what things, where, how have you gotten to where you've gotten to now? And then seeing, well, not only that, but really trying to understand the skill sets that enable them to get where they want to, where they are now. Because at the end of the day, like it is the skills that get these people here, and as well, likability, etc. But most of them are there based upon skills. So I did place a lot of emphasis on skills as well. And feedback. I think sometimes we like to say, oh, we're open to feedback, we like feedback, but the truth is some of us don't. But really truly taking on board feedback, I think is so important for that kind of growth. So I did ask her, I literally asked her, I said, okay, how can I get the most out of this 2 months? Because at the end of the day, they work there, so they know exactly how to get things done and how to get the most out of people. So really just telling her and asking her to tell me that was really important for me to then actually realize, okay, how do I, who should I talk to, etc. So then as well, that's what I did. I said to her, like, this is what I'm interested in. Who should I talk to? And she gave me those list of people's names, and then I went out individually to then go and reach out to these people. But I think something that's really important to note, to understand about mentee mentor type relationships is really, really based upon you, and you will only get out of it as much as you put in. So if you've put in your mind that I want to get the most out of it, then you're going to get the most out of it. It's not really them that's going to come to you and be like, oh, how is this? Of course, they'll check up on you, but in terms of who's driving it, is really you. So that's why I would say yes, like I mentioned before, being very clear on that vision and being able to ask the right questions. So let's say 3 questions that you should always ask. Tell them the goal, and then be like, who should I talk to? How can I get the most out of this? And how can I leave long-lasting impressions? And yes, that may differ for different people, but I think going off those 3 type of questions, I think that will get the ball rolling as well. And something I'll say as well is meeting up with them often. Like, don't let it be a thing whereby you only speak to them like once in the whole internship. Like, come on, guys, like, what, you are not getting anything out of that relationship, and it's going to feel ingenuine. I'd say definitely, if you can, weekly, speak to them on a weekly basis. Like, even you don't need to necessarily speak about the internship. Like, you can speak about other things as well. Because I found that the fact she actually liked me as a person, and the fact that I wasn't, just trying to take from her, it really did build a relationship. And I think sometimes as interns, you feel like you don't have anything to offer, especially if you have this notion at the back of your mind, I just have to convert, have to convert. It can often make you feel like, okay, like I need to be acting like someone I'm not, but that's not necessarily the case. Like, you do have something to offer. So I'd actually challenge you to actually come in the identity of, I have something to offer here. So I need to be surfing the level and seeing, why did this company need me? So, ask those type of questions. Like, if there's something that you're interested in, for example, certain initiatives, like, I'm going off a bit on a tangent here, but mental health, etc., then ask about these things and ask your mentor, these, like, are they X and Y initiatives in like mental health, etc. So I think, yes, like I would say, just seeing them on a weekly basis, getting to know them personally. And if you're like, oh, what should I talk about? The easiest thing I'd say to talk about would be like hobbies. So at that time, I was learning to swim. Can I swim now? Still can't, but anyways, so it's for another day. I was learning to swim, so I was talking to her about that, and it was a good starting point and nice conversations as well. And also being introduced to other grads, she introduced me to them too, and then we were speaking as well. And something I will say is, if she's introduced you, she's a she, but he, whoever introduces you to whoever, make sure that you maintain those relationships when you're speaking to them. Like, don't just say hi once and then never speak to them again, because it's like now you're kind of wasting their time and you're not maximizing it. But if you can, as soon as like they give you the name, just have a coffee chat and be talking about anything, just obviously related to whatever you want to get out of it. But hobbies is always a good one to like start to get the ball rolling, because like I think it's Mary Angelou, people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel. So you just have that in the back of your mind that yes, you're an intern, but you have something to offer, and you don't need to come off as like you're desperate for the thing offer. Like they want you to, so have that in the back of your mind, and having that in the back of your mind, I believe, will allow you to operate very differently. You'll approach your internship very differently, and you'll get the most out of it, and you'll be the one that's remembered. So I hope that helps, because I know she said how to build a mentor-mentee relationship.
Yeah. So I have like one thing to add. I really like agree with what Michelle said, everything she said. I understand that you can be assigned a mentor like at the beginning of your internship, but speaking from experience, I my mentor now, she wasn't my assigned mentor, and that relationship came about because I was interested in what she was doing. I was interested in the work that she had done in the past and the work that she is doing. So if you see, like, I can only speak from like the law environment. So like if you see that you are interested in a work that a partner that has I don't know, she's into like employment law, for example, and you yourself, you want to get into employment law, but your assigned mentor is in finance law, for example. Obviously, you can maintain that relationship there, but you can also go out and look for a mentor relationship with someone that is in your quote unquote dream role. So yeah, so you can the way you can fish out that relationship is by just asking them, do you want to have a chat? I want to like understand like your journey into this position, etc., etc. And then if permitted, you can ask them like, okay, can I shadow you or can I do certain tasks that needs to be doing with like your trainee, for example. And then the work you produce there would show that you are enthusiastic and like you can produce very good work. But I would caveat to say that don't be asking for work when you've got a million things to do in your actual team. So you have to find that balance and understand when to say like no. And then from there, from that instance, once you finish doing work with them, if you do have capacity, then ask for more work. And then if you know that the partner is giving you like work to do and is liking your work, you can then ask them for like another chat, or can I have another chat with you about like a mentor relationship, and they'll most likely will be like yeah, and also like maintain that relationship even after the internship. So with my mentor, she was the one that even said to me like, I want to be your mentor. I want you to get a training contract next year. I want to help you. Like I would even replicate partner interviews with you, because she saw that I was enthusiastic, I was proactive. And it wasn't only about like law, we were speaking about, like Michelle said, we spoke about like extracurriculars as well and interests. So definitely like make the most out of it. You have to remember that sometimes like this can be your first and last time inside this like environment. So let me make the most of it and get everything I can out of it. These things are two-way things as well. And don't be shy to seize the day and seize the opportunities as well. And create your own opportunities.
On both of your answers, what would you say to interns who are still figuring out their long-term vision and goals?
I would say again, like take up any opportunities, and even some things that you might not necessarily think you'd enjoy, still do it because you might end up enjoying it in the long run. Again, I'm going to say that from the law perspective, maybe you've done a module in like intellectual property, but you hated the theory of it, but the practice of it might actually be amazing. So don't let like your past trauma, unless there's like real bad like challenges, like yeah, I'll never do this again ever. Then obviously yeah, don't do it. But like, don't let that stop you from doing things, and also give your 100% in everything that you do. And yeah, literally that could only, if you don't try, you won't understand. If you don't ask, you won't get help. So yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
completely. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Michelle.
sorry.
Something I'd say, I think there's this like preconception that you need to have it all figured out. Like the reality is like you don't. And something that one of my coach always tells me is that clarity comes with journey. And the reality is that you really are not going to know you don't like something unless you try. I can tell you I don't like bananas because I had bananas. Do you know what I mean? So in that same light, you will not know that you don't like, for example, I don't know, investment banking or etc. until you try it. So I'll definitely say don't put too much pressure on yourself. If anything, put pressure on yourself to keep trying. Like be that person that's always open to things, open to opportunities. Don't be too quick to say no and be like, oh, write things off. I don't really necessarily believe in that because yes, I didn't necessarily go into or enjoy. I enjoyed my internship, but I didn't enjoy the industry. But I did not know, I wouldn't have known that unless I did the internship. So I say this to say that just put your hands up for things and be okay with not knowing exactly where you're going, but understand that whilst you are taking up these experiences, you're building skill sets, you're building clarity, and you're actually understanding and painting a picture of like, okay, now I kind of know where I am going. And believe it or not, you're gonna find out what you like. Like it's not, it may take a bit long, but long in comparison to who. I think when you start to like realize that this is my own journey and it doesn't matter how long it takes, and all what matters is that I'm happy, you'll be fine. And just knowing that you are building up a skill set and you are being molded into this better version of you each opportunity as you go. No opportunity is a waste. So it's okay if you're not clear on the vision. Just keep going and understanding that I need to be resilient and to maximize, like she said, be diligent, be put a lot of effort in everything that you're doing, because if you put a lot of effort into it, then you know, okay, I put a lot of effort and I still don't like it. Yeah, it's not for me. Let me go to the next one. But if you don't, you do it half-heartedly, willy-nilly, you're never going to really understand what is it that you really truly want to do. I'm going to pass on to Jay because I knew she wanted to say something too.
Yeah, I was just gonna add in, completely agree with Opiemi and Michelle's points. If you speak to, it's something I emphasized earlier, if you speak to a range of different people and you learn about all the different things that they do and also learning about their backgrounds, where they've come from, not just what they're doing in the job now, you might find out about roles that you never knew existed. Because I think for me, at least, when I first came into university, I knew about the big industries like finance, insurance, law, and like within finance, investment banking specifically, but I didn't know about all the offshoots within that. So I think it's really important to learn about people's career histories, because like Michelle said, say you don't enjoy the internship that you're doing and it's your first year or even your final year at university, you can then say, oh, but what that person did 5 years ago actually sounded really interesting, so I can follow up with them, or I can ask them up to speak to their past colleagues and stuff, and they can put me in touch with that industry and I can go forward and then try out something within that industry. I think it's really important, and you can learn about what they did in that role so that you can upskill yourself within, I don't know, whether that be coding or learning a specific particular software or researching and reading about it, so that when you go into that internship or when you have that chat with someone within that industry, you can show, oh, look at how much knowledge I have, look at how much I could bring to you, and all the past experience that I can leverage, which will put you in a much better situation than you could have been if you didn't do anything.
I think it's also really important to remember that we're all still really, really young, and we should not be putting pressure on ourselves to have absolutely everything figured out. I, like some of the people on this panel, did something in A-levels that ended up being completely different to even my degree, let alone the industry I ended up interning in. And you might end up interning in an industry, you might enjoy it, but you might just decide it's not for you. You might enter a career now, and in 10 years, figure out that that's absolutely not what you want to do, and you might be in a different place in your life. So my advice is right now at this stage, whether you're still studying or whether you finished and you're still figuring out, just cast your net as wide as possible. Talk to as many people as possible, find out what they do. Definitely try to attend networking events. If you want to find out more about networking events, you should probably message one of us on this panel, or talk to the 10,000 interns team, and keep up with the emails that they send as well. And, always follow up to the things that they're inviting us to, because they're really great. And I think that's the best way to sort of expose yourself to a load of different industries, because most people don't really have it fully figured out. We're all kind of just, there's intention behind it, don't get me wrong. We're not just completely aimless, but a lot of us are just sort of going with the flow, and we're just trying to find the lane that suits us best at the time. But it's a changing world every single day. You could like something today and decide you don't like something tomorrow. And like Jade said, sometimes through experiences you find out about roles that you never knew existed. For example, I'm really passionate about, social issues and the environment and stuff. And I had qualms with the financial services industry because of that. I didn't know that there were entire firms dedicated to impact investing and ESG until I did my second ever internship. And that's something that I felt like really resonated with me. And I never thought I'd come across such a thing. And that could happen to you too in your respective field. You might find a role or a job or even a company that, tugs away at your heartstrings, but you're never going to know it again until you try. And especially if you don't cast your net as wide as possible, you're not going to expose yourself to this industry. So it's really important to just sort of be open-minded and not to put pressure on yourself, because we're all still really young. Like, the life expectancy in this country is 80 plus. We're all in our 20s or late teens. Like, you're going to be okay.
Thank you so much. One question that was asked by a candidate is, what are ways you can show you're interested without coming across fake or over the top?
I can get started on that one. I think it all just depends on you and your interest. If it's genuinely something you believe in, I think that authenticity comes across. You don't have to be like an insane level expert and be able to quote everyone and say everything, but when your interest is genuine, I think that comes across really clearly. But I would say in terms of like specific ways, I think it's just about like doing your research. Again, you don't have to be an expert on anything, but just at least if you've said that you want to have a coffee chat with someone, at least understanding a bit more about their area of their business, maybe do some LinkedIn stalking and learn more about their career, how long they've been in the business. I promise you, no one will think it's weird. Like, that's public information. If anything, they'll be like, wow, this person is really keen that like they looked me up and they were like, they know that I've been here for X amount of years, or I shifted from this industry to a different industry, or this company to this company. So I would say, yeah, research, but you don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to be over the top. And then also, when you genuinely not believe something, but you genuinely like something and you want to learn more about it, that comes across. To yourself in your head, you might be like, I'm so cringy, I'm asking too many questions, but that comes across to the other person as enthusiasm, because you can imagine it in the other way around. Like, if you're meeting this new person and they're trying to explain to you their interest in this thing and all of this type of stuff, the more questions that they ask, the more genuine they come across, and you can just tell from people's like energy and everything that they're saying. So I would say also, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, you're there to ask questions, you're there to learn. Obviously there are like some, I'm not gonna say obvious things, but they're like those things that, like, I would say if you can Google the answer to a question, I personally wouldn't ask it, but there's still a way to answer those, I guess, like ask those obvious questions when you're asking for someone's perspective on something. So you can Google what employment law is or something like that, but you can't Google someone's experience in employment law and what it means to be an employment lawyer for 2 years, 2 months, 6 years, whatever it is. So I feel like, yeah, but also overall, just don't be too hard on yourself, because you are there to ask questions, you're there to learn. If you make a mistake, it's fine. No one is expecting you to come in on the first day and have everything polished and perfect. And they're more likely to remember, I think Michelle said it, they're more likely to remember how like you made them feel rather than what it was exactly that you said. So people remember, oh yeah, that person who was an intern, yeah, they asked a lot of questions. They're not gonna be like, oh yeah, they asked a lot of silly questions. Like, they're gonna pay more attention to the action of what you did. But yeah.
Yeah, I really love what you said. I think that's so good. And I think something that even came to mind, I think when you start to worry about if you're being fake, it may just be because you are thinking a lot about the return offer. And that's when it all comes back to what I was trying to say a bit earlier, was that you really do need to reprogram the way you view the internship and how you view yourself really and truly. Because the reality is that if you view yourself as someone who's valuable, which you all are, the way you will approach the application season will be completely different, and the way you approach how you navigate the internship will be very, very different. So I would definitely say is that just take out the fact that let's just imagine whilst you're in the internship, there is no offer, right? Let's just take that out. And then actually the reality is that if you are applying for this internship, I'm assuming you like it. I'm assuming you like the industry. So naturally you are going to just be interested in what's going on. So I think yes, taking out the fact that yes, there is a return offer will help like for you in your own behavior, because then you'll be more free then ask questions and also be engaged as well. But then like I think the main thing I just want to hone in is just that just see yourself as someone who is just willing to learn. People love people that just want to learn. And I feel like identify before the internship starts, what things are you interested in? Like what things actually get you going that you could talk about for so long, and try and put and like ask, can you be involved in these type of projects? Because naturally, because you are naturally interested in, you will just, it won't be fake. It will just become of as so authentic. Is when you are trying to be someone that you're not. And I think that is something that you should try and avoid doing. I know it's so hard because you have this preconceived notion as that an intern needs to act like this, or when I'm in this industry, I need to be this way. But the reality is you don't. The only thing that you need to be is yourself. You being yourself, and of course professional, but you being yourself is more than enough. When you start to try and act like someone that you're not, that's when you start to be like, oh, how do I act like, not I'm really interested, etc. But your natural self, we all are excited about something. Some people like anime, some people like sports. They are naturally excited about these things because they genuinely enjoy it. I can't act like I like football because I don't. You're going to know that it's inauthentic. But when you are true to yourself, true to your core, true to your values, these things will come across very naturally, and you don't need to worry about this. So if there's something that I would love to say to you all is that be very confident, be very audacious, and know who you are before you step in these internships. And actually understand that I am myself and I'm okay the way I am. I don't need to change, I don't need to conform. And I think it's very important, especially being Black as well, to actually really understand that you are more than enough and you don't need to conform, or you don't need to act, or you don't need to fake it. The only thing you need to do is you need to ask questions, and you need to be intuitive, and you need to put your hand up for things. That is the only thing that you need to do in an internship. Once you do these things, trust me, you will be remembered, you'll be liked, and you will then naturally just get that return offer because you just focus on learning. Be a student to life. Just do that. Be a student in that internship. Ask questions. Be like, why is that? Solve problems, these type of things. Focus on that more than rather the perception on the outward. I think that will help a lot in terms of not trying to come across as fake. Because if you're too concerned about being fake, trust me, you will then be fake. And then they're looking at you thinking, what is going on? So yeah, that's something I would say. Just be really true to yourself and know that you are more than enough, and you don't need to be someone that you're not. And then hopefully you won't be coming across as fake.
And just to add as well to what Michelle said, this is obviously industry dependent, but I would really, really advise to keep up with any sort of related news that affect your industry and your role. And if you do, I mean, I think a lot of people do already, but don't be afraid to talk about it in a work environment. If a specific topic comes up, something whether it's big or small in the news, don't be afraid to talk about it. Turn to your colleague and ask them, oh, what do you think of this? Because number one, it shows that you're interested and you want to hear different perspectives, but also that you value their opinion. I mean, whether you do or not, that's up to you. But let's say, if, for example, you work in the financial services industry, especially asset management, you're going to be reading the Financial Times, you're going to be reading CityWire, Investment Week, all of these publications. If you're working in engineering, you're going to read engineering journals and so on and so forth. And while it's great to, read things and then close the tab and go about your day, it's actually quite nice sometimes to just sit down and talk to colleagues about these things, because it shows that, you're really tuned into the work that you're doing, but you're also really aware of the externalities of the world and, the impact that it has on your sort of day to day.
Yeah, I agree with what Bakar said, especially in the legal industry, we have to be like commercially aware. And I also agree with what Jayla and Michelle said. So if you are thinking too much about not wanting to come across fake, sometimes 9 times out of 10, they can actually see right through the facade that you're trying to put up and notice that you are being fake. I feel like just stick to what you're genuinely interested in. And even if you have like, you don't know, say if there's a conversation that's happening and you don't really know like anything about it, even asking questions can also pique your interest and develop a further discussion. So yeah, and I feel like in the Black community, like we have this thing of like, yeah, I don't want to be a beg, I don't want to be a beg. But like when you enter that building, you need to unlearn that and ask all the questions you want to ask and make the most of like being with sometimes industry experts as well. And you need to basically be like a sponge and soak up your environment and soak up like everything, the people that you're around. Because like I said earlier, sometimes this could be like your first and last time in an environment like that. So definitely do what you can. So like I'm kind of interested in like white collar crime. So I spoke to someone and said, oh yeah, like I'm interested in white collar crime. He was like, okay, go and speak to the person that does like the most of our like white collar crime work. So I spoke to him, we had a really good conversation. I spoke to him about my dissertation in law school. It was about like white collar crime and stuff like that. And then he was just like, oh, I've got like a client meeting this afternoon, come. And then I went, and it wasn't just like only about like going to the client meeting experience and that, but also like asking follow-up questions of what does this mean? Like, oh, how does this impact this? What are the next steps? Is there any way I can help with like going forward? So also using your initiative as well. So I did quite a few things with that whole case. And now that I've moved to the serious fraud office, a senior manager asked me, like, what's your background and what have you done in the past? And I told him. And then he was just like, okay, who did you work with at Slaughter Mate? And I mentioned the partner that I worked with. He was like, yeah, like we work with him. Like he does a lot of big cases with us. So with that, there's like cross networking as well. So definitely, if I thought that, yeah, I don't want to be a beg, I would have been quiet that whole 6 weeks and not do things that I would have never thought I would have done. So yeah, definitely unlearn that. And when you go to that networking sessions as well, ask questions, walk up to someone and be like, oh, hi, like my name is so-and-so. Like you're not a beg, honestly. So yeah.
One of the last questions is, how did you define success for yourself beyond performance reviews and all achievements?
I would say if you have your own personal goals, so if your goal is to speak to someone from, let's say, like employment law, for example, and you're quite naturally a shy person, if you've then actually managed to do that, then you can tick that off. That is a personal achievement. I've come out of my comfort zone and spoken to someone in employment law. Yeah, and also, like I said at the beginning, go beyond like your team or just go beyond like your day-to-day work and engage with some of the things that the firm like could offer. So if they have like sports teams, do that. If they have like multi-faith groups and you're interested in, join that. If they have like a Black network, join that as well. Yeah, that's how I measured my personal achievements with, yeah, because like I joined a netball team, played netball with them for a few times. The TikTok videos that I made, like some of the videos reached over 20,000 views. So that's an achievement in itself. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. I think just to also even to echo that or add to that is when you have like these big goals of like you want a training contract, so you want an offer, whatever it is, I would say like break it down into smaller goals. I feel like sometimes you only focus on like the big final thing. Like if we take it back to school, like you wanted XYZ A levels, or you wanted this, you wanted a 2-1 or a first in your degree, you're so focused on whatever that big thing is, you don't really pay attention to all the mini steps and all those goals. I would say they're not even mini goals or mini steps. They are still big goals and big things that got you along that way. So I would say whatever your big goal is, just think back to it. Like, what steps do you have to take to get towards that goal? Because it's not 100% overnight. There are probably conversations you're having now, people you're networking with, tasks that you're finishing and completing, things that you didn't know in your first year, or like in your first month that you're getting right now. So I would say don't put that insane pressure on yourself and only think about whatever the end picture is, because there's so many things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis that get you towards that. So I would say, yeah, just like break it down, focus on the not smaller things, but focus on the steps that it takes you to get to whatever that bigger goal is.
Yeah. Something I'll say as well, this topic, successful, because it's just reminded me of my A levels. But I think something that I've learned after not getting the grades that I wanted to get was that success, first of all, is very subjective. And I think something to like Jayla was saying, which I think is so important, is like you really do need to detach yourself from the big goal. And instead, something that my dad always says to me, and now this is how I actually define success. And he always asks me when I'm complaining, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this like exam went, like I'm really stressed about it, etc. Like, he'll just be like, Michelle, said yes, dad. He'll go, did you try? I said yes, dad. He said that's okay. That's it. That is success for me right there. Is asking myself, did I try? The answer is yes. And then he'll go and say, did you give it your best? I said yes. So there you go. I'm very content in knowing that I did okay, knowing that I tried and knowing that I gave it my all. I think when you start to kind of see that through the lens, like through that lens, it can really help any feelings that you have around the anxieties, or like, I don't know if like all you can truly, if you can truly say that you tried, that is all that matters. The things will naturally come, because at the end of the day, like you reap what you sow. If you put in the work, you will see the fruits of your labor. Like that's just the natural way of how it's going to come out. But all you need to focus on is trying. And I think then it will enable you to be more kinder to yourself, because sometimes we don't achieve the big goals that we have, and that's okay. It does not mean that you're a failure. You know, you're only failing if you didn't try. And the fact that you tried, I think that in itself just has a testament of your character and your ability. And I think seeing goals in that limelight will really help when things don't go your way, because listen, like I've applied for internships, I've not gotten them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that yes, I didn't achieve a goal, but I still was successful because I tried and I tried my best. So I think having reframing your mindset and seeing how you see goals can really help you in the long run, because the reality is you are going to come across so many failures. I say failures like this because I don't really believe it's failures. You're going to come across many rejections in life, but it's really about how you navigate it. But you always has to come back to, did you try? And this is how I'm personally applying this in my own life at the moment, because I'm scared about results day next month in June. I am scared. My dissertation really did kick me in the ass. But I ask myself every single day, the moment that the fear arises, I ask myself, Michelle, did you try it? And for me, faith is really important as well. So obviously I back it up with scripture as well, but I always ask myself, did I try it? When the answer is yes, I don't allow my brain to wander anymore and be like, if buts, no. I just say I tried and that's it, and I keep it going. And applying this in your internship will really go a long way. So that's how I measure success as well. Another thing that I also did is I asked myself, did I learn? So am I the same person that I am when I entered? So let's say in the beginning of my internship at Ofcom, I didn't know how to write like a research type of article. I didn't do that. At the end of the 2 months, I did. So I was successful in this place. I didn't tie the success to the fact that I wrote the article. I did that piece and it got published. But the success was mainly tied to the fact that I didn't have a skill and then I acquired it. So that's something that I will say as well. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. And the last question is, how did you prepare for your first day, and what's a subtle yet powerful way to leave a lasting positive impression at your internship?
I'll go first and I'll try go quickly, just like rattle things off. I think the first thing, I think it's like the obvious things that you don't think about. So like plan your route. Do you know where you're going? If you're extra anxious, like pre-do the route. If you're really that stressed about it, check maps, check City Mapper, check multiple sources, check at different times of the day. Like I'm personally very directionally challenged and I will get lost in like the same like 500 meters. So I personally, that for me, something that's always on my brain. Like if I'm going somewhere, I have to know exactly where I'm going. I think like other things is just like, do you know who you're going to see? Like, are you going into the office and you're supposed to meet, I don't know, Tim, and there's 7 Tims at the office? Like, do you know exactly which specific person you're supposed to meet? So when you get into the reception, you know exactly who to say that you're looking for. Other things I'd say is like how you're dressed. Obviously, it varies from what industry that you're in, but I would just say be comfortable. Like, obviously, there's certain standards for different industries, but don't let that day in the morning be the first time that you're trying on something new and then you find out it doesn't fit or the material is itchy or you didn't iron, whatever it is. Like all these small things, if there's anything you can do beforehand when it comes to like prepping a route, knowing who you're meeting, the things that are actually in your hands and that you can control and prepare for, do all of those things. And for like when it comes to leaving a lasting impression, I think just like when it comes to like sending follow-up messages to people, so whether that's after like a coffee, like the first time you meet with someone, or even at the end of your internship, obviously it's better when you've built up that consistent communication, but just sending a nice message, a nice note, a nice team message, a nice email saying thank you for XYZ, whatever thing it was. And I'd say you don't have to wait till the end of your internship. I think if you just make that a consistent thing that you do all of the time, people will remember that this is the type of person that, because you gave them 5 minutes of your time or they helped you find something that you couldn't know how to find, like just being grateful, but not in like because this person is bigger than better than you type of way. Like we're all on the same level, all human beings, but just showing that you have appreciation for someone when they put effort into you or they pour into your cup. But yeah, try to make that quick, but yeah.
Okay, I'll go quick as well. So something that I think I did on the first day is I literally wore red lipstick because for me that was like my whole thing was like I'm gonna feel the most confident version of myself. So yeah, I did stand out, but I liked it because I was like, you're gonna remember me, and they literally did. They remembered me, and they were like, you're the girl with the red lipstick. I was like, yeah, I was the girl with the red lipstick. I did that because that embodied a lot of confidence for me, and as well, something I do as well is I would wear heels. I was so excited, guys, to wear heels in the office. Like that was my thing from when I was younger. So I was wearing heels all the time. Like you just hear me doing clack, clack, clack around the office. So I'll definitely say find something that makes you feel the most confident version of yourself as well. And a second thing I'd say as well is make sure that any limiting beliefs that you have something that counteracts it. So like I'd say like I don't know, for me personally, scripture. So write it down before and then be like, if you feel like I'm not enough, be like, no, I'm more than enough. Like have something that you can look at and refer to all the time. Because I remember the first day in the office for me, I was really like nervous and stuff. So I literally referred back to like scripture, reading it over myself, going over it. And I walked back outside and then I was my most confident self because I was like, I'm the daughter of the King of Kings. So I really like embodied that. And in terms of leaving a long-lasting impression, solve a problem. Try and solve a problem if you can. Like people remember people that solve problems and make things more efficient. And as well, just build good, genuine relationships as well. People are going to remember you if they actually like you as a person. So I hope that helps.
Thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of today's session. A massive thank you to our alumni for your time and openness, and to all our interns for joining us. We hope you are leaving today feeling more confident and better prepared for what's ahead. Remember, your internship is just the beginning. Make the most of it. Stay curious and don't be afraid to stand out. And take care, and we'll see you next session. Please feel free to share your LinkedIns in the group chat and connect with each other.
Great. And I think I'm just going to offer on everyone else's behalf, if you want to reach out to any of us, just, yeah, all our names are there. And good luck to everyone. Like, again, it can be so like nervous and like you're in your head way too much. But like Lois said, this is honestly just the beginning. So good luck to everyone.
And feel free to drop us a message anytime if you need any help or advice. I'm sure all of these guys would love to help you, including me.
Thank you so much again for all your time, and I hope you guys have a lovely week and a lovely day.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.